you everyone for introducing yourselves. Today we are going to review arrays and hash maps very briefly, maybe only 10 minutes. And then following that, we will walk through installing an integrated development environment. I'll explain what that means in a minute. And then we will make our first classes, and if time permits, we will show something called inheritance. If you know what these are already, awesome. I hope that you can help those who are still learning. If you don't know this already, we'll be in for a fun ride. So let's go ahead and start with review. So make this a little bit smaller because I think most people can. Can you guys in the back read this? Okay. Sweet. All right. So come on. So just a brief review. You can create arrays of most data types, and they store multiple values into a single variable. And you can iterate through them or access each item in what is called a loop, which we learned 2 classes ago. And Java supports this kind of for-in syntax, where you say, hey, I want each value to be called I, and I want to pull each value out of basic array. So for example, this would print I equals 1, I equals 2, I equals 3, and I equals 4. Okay, just a basic review. This is another way to do it as well. This would produce similar output, where instead of using this kind of easier syntax, it's a more explicit for loop, where we start at 0, and we go until we reach the length of the array. Remember that arrays start at 0, not 1, so you want to go until, non-inclusive, the length of the array. So if the array is 5 long, you want to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 4. I should count. And then you just increment each time. So again, this would print traditional I equals 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is an array list, which is a different way of storing multiple values. It is similar to an array, except that it provides these more useful functions to manipulate the array list. So you can add to them, you can remove from them, you can check if they contain certain values. And like I said, you can remove values. So you append items to the array using this add method. So in this case, we're going to add 0 through 20 to this array list. And then we check to see if it contains the value 5. You can also remove by position. So in this case, we're removing the first item. And you can remove a value that is equal. So in this case, we know that it has 5. We can remove 5. And no matter where 5 is in the array, this method will find it and remove it. It will remove whatever value is equivalent to this.
What if there is no 5 in the array?
Then I believe it simply, I forget if, I don't remember.
Oh, it's okay. I'm going to find out.
Yeah, I think it returns.
I think it doesn't execute because I think there's a part where you tried it with a number that wasn't there and it just didn't print.
That's right. Yeah, so it, I don't know, we should try it. So let me test something. Actually, better yet, let's do this instead. Java array list remove. Let's take a look. What the hell? Tutorials point? No. And we look for remove. Removes the element. Let's look at it in detail. Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Oh my god. It's a very good question. I should know the answer to this. Remove object. That's the one we want. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So if the element doesn't exist, it will return false. So you could do something like
Cool.
Oh yeah, I love that. So you could do something like this, or sorry, that is the wrong sorry, for this one, you could do something like this. And if this value did not exist, this would be set to false. If the value did exist, this would be set to true. So, good question. You can also create array lists of any object type, and we will be covering objects today. You can add, you can remove, just like we did before. And then hash maps are another type of collection. Whereas an array stores items in a specific order, a hash map stores them by a key. So instead of I want the 0th item or I want the 5th item, you say I want the item at maybe first key. And this can be any value, as long as it matches this type. Okay, so in this case it's a string, so we can put a string in there. We could call it David, we could call it Beej. This can be any value, as long as it matches the type defined here. And then you can store any value as long as it matches the type here. Okay, so that is the hash map. So you use put to place items into the hash map, and you retrieve them with get. If I could scroll to the right here. So, and you get based on the key. So get first key will return the integer 10. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff. Whoops. You can also remove things based on key. And you can replace values by simply using the same key. So we put 10 in here originally. We can put 11, and instead of 10, if we try to pull that out again, it will instead be 11. Nothing new. It just overwrites. And then you can also do contains key to see if the key exists. You generally want to do that before you try to pull a key out. Otherwise, it will throw an exception, which we'll cover after classes, I think. I have to check. And then you can also grab the keys that are in the map, so you can loop through each one. So yeah. Again, review. Did that good review or good enough?
I have two questions.
Yes.
First one is the first line and second line. There is import part, java.youtube.arraylist.
Yes.
Is it like something that I can find in the C drive?
Oh, so this is part of the Java standard library. So this specific library comes with Java. It is built in. Yeah. We should cover libraries when we cover exceptions. Let me make note of that. Cover libraries and exceptions. So yes, you can install outside libraries. That takes a little bit more effort, but actually it's not true. It's pretty easy. But we will not cover that today. Okay?
And second question is the line of
Which line?
first to string line 7. And when I compile that, it shows something weird.
Really? Oh, yes. Because the primitive array type, it doesn't have a toString method. So what happens is Java, so every object has a method called toString. We're actually going to cover that today. And if an object doesn't have that defined, Java will print the memory address of where that data is stored. So that's why it looks really funny.
What about the array list? When we reprint it, when you print the array list to string, it shows the normal number.
Correct. So array list has a toString method defined. Yeah, and we're actually going to cover that today. So, great question. If I don't want to spend too much time on this because this is review. If you have, maybe one or two more questions, if anyone has any.
One.
Okay. So both of you, yeah.
First.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're really fast.
When I want to put the integer type number, should I use the new function or the integer? Integer function.
Yeah. This might work. Like just doing that might work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't tried.
Yeah, okay.
Normally, yeah, we should try that.
I think it should work.
Yeah, I think it should automatically cast it because Java intelligently switches between this integer type and this integer type. So it should work. I just haven't tried it. Normally I just use this because it provides a bunch of helper functions. So, yeah. Good question.
This word new is the only thing I would understand that.
We're going to cover that today.
Okay.
So, cool. Everyone good? Cool. Do you need to get set up?
I'll just follow you guys going.
Okay, cool. So, let's get started. So, for everyone who does not have an IDE already installed, or if you don't know what that term is, you probably just copied the installer to your machine. We're going to go ahead and walk through installing that together. For those of you who already have an IDE installed, for example, you two, I'm sorry, I ask that you be patient for a moment. Alright, so let's go ahead and, sorry, I need to record this as we do it. So, for people online, let's just assume that we downloaded the installer and we ran it. And we do the thing, and oh, I should get something that looks like this. And now I need to add it to window capture. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Oh god, maybe not beautiful. That works. Cool. So we'll hit next. The default path is fine. If you want to install it somewhere else, feel free. It's up to you guys. I would assume everyone's machine is a 64-bit machine, so you want to make sure to check this one. I strongly recommend checking Java as the file type association. You can do Groovy and KT if you want to. They're just other languages to do Java-like things. We're not going to be covering that in this class, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to check them unless you have something else that's writing those. But if you do, then you know what they are already, and you would know the answer to this question. So you can go ahead and check it.
If when I installed it, I didn't check those three, any of them, that just means when you start it.
Yeah, if you were to double-click a Java file, it would be like, what should I open this with?
Oh, okay. He's right.
Yeah, exactly. This is fine. Now we just wait for it to do things. Woo! Oh my god, this recording is tripping out.
Is it going on YouTube?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I still need to record the intro class, but we've recorded every other session. But the white noise is terrible, so hopefully this makes it better. Let's see. And totally going to edit this out, because this is really boring. This is actually a good chance to explain what we're doing. So IntelliJ and Eclipse are two types of IDEs. IDE is the acronym for an Integrated Development Environment, which is fancy words for a text editor and a compiler and a debugger combined. And they have all sorts of nifty other useful features like autocomplete, where you can basically say, I want something like print, and then it'll go, here's everything that's print, and you're like, ooh, I want that one. And then it just writes code for you, which makes life much easier. It also makes it easier to manage multiple classes, like we'll be doing today. It allows you to, when you're trying to understand how your code behaves, it allows you to pause execution at different points and see what is the state of my application at this point in time. So what are my variables set to? What functions are running? It allows you to see all of that. So it's very, very, very useful to do work. Almost, if you're writing Java, you are likely using some sort of IDE, either IntelliJ or Eclipse or NetBeans, or there's a bunch of them. So you want to go ahead and let's just run it. And we can go ahead and turn this off now. Whoop. You should see a little window that says complete installation. You can import settings. I mean, if this is your first time installing it, probably this one. You can just hit OK. And then Now I need to add another window capture. Sorry guys, give me a second. Window capture 3, customize, sure. Then you should get something that looks like this. I personally recommend Darkula, just because it's easier on the eyes. You just don't have white in your face all day long, especially if you're going to be doing this for a while. So do that. And then this is all, the default settings are pretty good. They give you Maven, which we'll actually be using later on. It makes managing large projects easier. You can just say, run my tests. It just runs tests for you. Git, which is version control, which we'll be covering in a separate class in maybe 2-ish weeks. UI stuff, we're not really going to be doing much of that. Android, if you're going to make Android apps. And, JUnit for testing your code, which is very important. And I had to remember to add that to the curriculum. Let me go ahead and write that down. JUnit. So you can just hit next. We don't need these. Scala is actually another language. It runs similar to Java, but that's way outside of what we're going to do today, so you can just hit start. And then it's going to do stuff. You're going to see something like this. And, oh my god, managing this stuff is a nightmare. Okay, there we go. Should see something like this. And we're going to go ahead and create a new project. And you should see some dialogue like this pop up. I really wish I could just do monitor sharing. This is madness. Now, I don't remember this at all. Really? So what you'll want to do is... too many screens. Okay. You will want to... For some of you, this may be filled in already. If not, you want to do new JDK. And, what's up?
Oh, a new JDK,
Yeah. And then it should find your JDK automatically.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, and you're on Windows, it should be Programs Java, or Program Files Java JDK 1.8. And then you should see it like that. If you're on Mac, it should be, I think, /libs, maybe user libs, or user libraries, one of the two. And then you can just hit next. And you can just hit next again. And let's call it classes, because that's what we're going to be covering today. Is everyone keeping up? Cool. Finish. And yay! Now we have a project. It's going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at us. Window capture. No, not tip of the day. There we go. Heyo, sweet. Alright. Good stuff. Actually, I want you to be about that big. Nope, still smaller. Come on. Beautiful. Alright. Let's just roll with that. So you should, you can ignore the tip of the day for now. You'll probably want to run through those at some point, but you'll just want to do this. Oh man, now my thing's tripping out. Oh, where is my, okay, cool. Is everyone to this point? Just hit got it on the bottom left. Yeah. That's just, it wants to give you a tour and be like, look at all this cool stuff.
JDK. The JDK directory, yes. It's like,
Oh, weird. Yours is, that's strange. What's that?
I think it's just home directory, not main.
Sorry? Where's,
I'm lost.
what's that? Should be Program Files, Java, JDK. Program Files, Java. Wait, do you not have the JDK installed on this machine?
I thought I did.
Maybe it's in your other program files.
Yes, it's true.
Well, he has JRE. Did you see? Yeah.
I think I saw JDK.
Oh, you did?
I don't know. I can't sure.
It should be in your normal program files. This one? Nope, that's Jerry. Oh yeah, that one. There you go. Scroll down, look for Java. Java, expand. JDK. Cool.
Am
The
I?
left side.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see that on yours?
I like the
Oh,
way you
weird.
pronounce the words. It's cute.
What's that? Oh. If you don't see that, you can do window. Where is it? Where is it? Maybe it's view. View tool windows project.
So after I choose it, what do I do?
There you go.
After I choose it, what do I do?
All right. So, and then you should have something like this. Yay! Cool. Is everyone with us?
Yep.
All right. Come on, David. You can do it. I had to edit the shit out of this video. All right. So you guys are up to this point? Yes. You guys doing okay in the back? Okay. Okay. What's up? What do you got?
What next?
So you just hit next. Wait, what the hell?
There's no next thing, that's why I'm lost.
What? Way.
Fine, you're gonna be lost.
Why?
I think you have to use Eclipse.
What the hell's going on here? Oh, it's trying to use this built-in. Oh, dude, did you install the... Oh, dude, I think you installed it 32-bit. Oh, no, there we go. It just was being finicky. Classes. Cool, there you go.
No, I didn't.
Alright, sweet. So now everyone's caught up. Let me get this fixed, because this is dumb. Alright, whatever. This works. Alright. So now, you should have this. If you don't have this, you can go to View Tool Windows, and then Project, and you should see something like this. Go ahead and expand the Classes folder, and then you should see this folder called Source. Source is where you store your source code. Source code is the stuff we've been writing this entire class. The reason it's called source code is because remember how when we do Java C, we get those class files? That's machine code. So you have source code gets turned into machine code. Okay, so that's how you distinguish. This is our source. So in your source folder, you can do new Java class. And in this case, let's just call it Hello World. We're just going to do what you and I did, just so that you don't have to do anything crazy and new. And you should get this. Oh god, you guys can't see that, can you? In the back, can you guys read it?
Yeah.
You can read it?
I think you write small.
It's small? Okay. I was going to say, you guys have much better vision than I do if you can read that. Give me a second to, where is it? Settings, editor, generate colors and fonts. Font. Huh? Wait. What the hell? Why do you do this? What's going on here? What? What?
I had the same problem with the.
I've never had this happen to me before.
There is a way. I forgot what it was.
What the hell? This has never happened to me before.
It's in like a separate area.
I do this all the time. Yeah, that's it. Oh. No.
You could also search up there, under.
There we go.
Like in the search bar.
There we go. Presentation mode.
Oh.
That's cool. How do I do presentation mode? I haven't seen that before. Yeah, screw it. Let's just do this. Oh, wait, no. Maybe let's not do that. Well, can you guys read it in the back?
Yes.
Okay. That is amazing. This really I do this all the time. How? If I do that, oh god. Okay, I guess we'll just have to deal with the small font. I'll make sure to get that figured out for next time. Sorry guys, normally I do this on Linux and that version just plays nicer. Can I just do this? Of course not. This? No, of course not. Okay. So you should have something like this, and then if you just type main, oh come on, is it not doing that? Where's the shortcut? I know you can do this. I know you can do this. I've done this before. Well, I guess not. Okay. Oh, generic? No. Okay. Well, if you do public, there we go. Okay, maybe not. Public static void main, just like we've done before. Args. There is a way to automatically generate that. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Beautiful. And then we can just do, just like we've done before, system.out.println, hello world. Okay. If everyone's to this point, there's gotta be a way to... While you guys are typing all that up, I will see if I can fix my font stuff going on here. That's so weird. Read only scheme, copy to edit. There we go. That's why. Got it. Got it. Hey, is that better?
Oh, okay.
Cool. They don't allow you to edit the built-in fonts. That's what happened. Okay, so has everyone got this down? Then you should be able to go to Run, or you can do Alt-Shift-F10, but I can never remember that, so I just click up there and hit Run. And it will pop up a little configuration window, and you can choose Hello World, and you should see this in the bottom left-hand corner. Did it? Oh yeah, make sure to save. Yep, go ahead and run it. And you should see Hello World down here in the console.
Run, is there a shortcut key for that?
Alt-Shift-F10? Yeah, Alt-Shift-F10. Alternatively, there should be a little run button up here on the top right. Or Shift-F10, I guess you can do.
You can just right click and see the run.
Yeah, you can also just do this.
Even if you click on run, it says Alt-Shift F10.
You can do Control-Shift-F10, Alt-Shift-F10.
It's written Alt-Shift F10 next to run. To show you the shortcut.
Yeah, is it working for you?
It's not running.
You should see at the bottom Hello World.
It doesn't show up as option, it grades out because I don't think it has.
Or, see, I'm clicking this run button, but it's not running.
Let's see what you got. Oh, so click that drop down next to the run button. And edit configurations. And do, on the top left hand corner, hit the plus symbol. And actually, let's just walk through that, because that's good to know. So in case you have different configurations, like maybe you want to run it as a test version, maybe you want to run it as a QA version, maybe you want to run it as if it were live, you can set up different run configurations. So you can pass different inputs to it, you can use different JDK versions, you can do all sorts of fancy stuff. You can do edit configurations, you can do plus right here. And then you can say, in this case, oh, come on. What is this doing? Oh, you can do application. And then you can just do, your main class would be Hello World. And then that should be all you need. And you probably want to name it, I'm just going to call it Hello World 1, just so I don't get a name conflict. Oh, we need to add that window for the reporting to be able to see. Okay, should have something like this. You click the top left-hand corner, does fancy stuff. Yeah, so plus application, and then you fill out, really you just need to fill out this and this. And remember how we, yeah, we didn't do that. So you can just do this and this. And then if you hit OK, then it should show up in this top right-hand corner here. And then you can just hit run.
I just wonder why it only happened to me. Did no one else just installed it?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe because I didn't click the associate with Java.
Oh, maybe. That would make sense. Because then it's like, I don't have any file associations. I don't know which files I should run. So, but yeah. So if you've gotten here, you're good. Is everyone good? Cool. All right. So let's start with the real stuff. Oh, we were beautiful on time. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and. So many. Okay. So now we're going to make use of multiple classes. Right now we've been doing everything in just kind of one class per class. Ugh. Per meetup session. There we go. But in a large application, you need multiple classes. What is a class? I actually did this out of order. A class is a way that you create an object. Remember earlier when we've been doing array list and hash map? These are different kinds of objects. You can think an object in code is meant to represent an object in the real world, right? So I could define a class that defines an object. And I'll explain that distinction in a minute. But an object like a mouse, it has attributes, like this is gray or black. And it has actions, like left click, right click, scroll, right? And in Java and any object-oriented language, classes are the same. You can have a class that has attributes and that has actions, which are called variables and methods, okay? Or properties and methods, okay? I'm going to be repeating this the whole time, so if you don't get it right now, that's okay. I'll be saying it over and over again in a minute. So for now, go ahead and do new Java class, and let's call this one vehicle, okay? So yeah, you right-click source, you go to new, you hit Java class. In the prompt that comes up, we can type in vehicle, and it generates this code for us. Okay? Yeah, we're gonna go with the vehicle analogy for now. And then, so I'm just doing some cleanup here. We can define properties on this vehicle. So we can say that a vehicle has an integer called num wheels, right? We can also say that a wheel has, we could do speed, yep. And in the past, we've done stuff like this. You don't necessarily have to do that. If you have multiple values of the same type, you can do this. You can use a comma to separate them. It's just a nice little shorthand thing. If you have things of a different type, you need to give it its own line. So we can do something like the color of the vehicle. Right? So these are examples of properties that a vehicle might have, okay? And then a vehicle should be able to do things, right? Like you should be able to drive a vehicle. So we can create methods, like drive. And we've done this kind of before. And then that method can do things as well. Oh, whoops, sorry. Missed sorry, if you weren't paying attention, I added this in, because I'm too used to Python at this point. This is why you don't teach multiple languages at once. Okay, so this is an example of a very, very basic class. Okay, a class has properties, and it has methods. Okay, it knows things, it has attributes, and it does things. It can take actions. Okay. Now, this is a class. You can think of a class like a blueprint, right? We're saying that there exists this thing, and here's how I am defining it, right? So it's like the blueprint of a building. You're saying there should be if we were to construct a building, the building would have so many floors, it would have so many windows, you could take elevators up and down, things like that. And an object would be if you actually built the building, right? The actual building in the real world would be the object. So you can think of the class like the blueprint. And when you create an instance of the class, right? When you say, hey, have this definition, make me an actual vehicle, that is the object. Okay? So this is a class. Then in our hello world, we can create a new vehicle. So we can say vehicle, well, if I could type, we'll just call it my vehicle equals new vehicle.
Vehicle is class.
Yes. But in doing this, vehicle is the class, but we're taking that blueprint and we're constructing the building.
From the other one, from the other vehicle class, because we're not in hello world.
Correct. So this vehicle.java is the blueprint,
Okay.
and in hello world, we're taking that blueprint and we're creating the building. Okay? This new keyword, which has been asked about, new means we are creating a new object. Under the hood, Java's going to go, oh, hey, okay, we're going to have an object, I'm going to take some memory, I'm going to allocate some memory, and then I'm going to store whatever value is generated into that. That is what the new keyword does. You don't need to do this with primitives. Primitives being integers, floats, booleans, all the different types of data types we have covered. Because Java already knows how large those values are, so it just kind of does it implicitly. With an object can have any number of properties, it can have any number of methods, so it has to do some work to figure out how large that is and allocate memory appropriately. So basically, in your head, you can think shorthand, is it an object? I'm going to use new. Is it a primitive? I don't need to use new. Okay. So now we can do things like we can drive that vehicle. Remember earlier how we defined a drive method? We can use that drive method from the vehicle. So now you want to save this. You want to make sure you save vehicle too. If we run this, I'm really hoping this doesn't make a fool of me. You can see that it's driving. Nice split pane. I like that. Questions?
So you took the print statement from the vehicle on the hello world and you said not that. Okay.
Yep, exactly. Okay. Which way do we want to do it next? Let's do this. So, that's right, because it's a primitive. Okay, cool. So, now, you might be like, okay, well, why didn't I just create a method inside hello world to print I'm driving? Well, the reason you use objects, there's a concept in object-oriented programming called encapsulation. And it's kapsulhwa, I believe in Korean, or Hangul. I've been studying my computer science terms. So as an object-oriented language, Java supports encapsulation, and what that means is that any object has its own information. So what I could do is I could have one vehicle, and I could say this vehicle has 3 wheels. But then I could create a second vehicle, and I could say this vehicle has 4 wheels. And that data won't be mixed between the two. It will be encapsulated, it'll be isolated in each one. And they don't interfere with each other. So this is useful in real-world applications. For example, if you have multiple users, you can say user A's name is Beej, user B's name is Kelly, right? And they would not interfere with one another. That is the concept of encapsulation, where each object has its own memory space that is safe from being edited, unless you edit it. What's up?
Can objects influence each other?
They can, if they directly act on one another, or if they act on another piece of information that they share.
So if one object calls another object's methods, then they can then alter.
Correct.
Okay.
That's actually... No, that's not what we're doing here. But you can think of it like that's what we're doing here. Because this is static, we're not actually... Actually, no, I'm not going to get into that. That would confuse the hell out of everyone, so let's not do that. But yes, you can do that. One object can take another object and modify it, as long as that other object allows modification.
Okay.
And we'll cover that in a minute. But first I wanted to show encapsulation. So, remember earlier on vehicle, we said that a vehicle has a number of wheels? We can change that if the default is public. We're going to find out. I might make a mistake here. So we can say my vehicle dot, and you see num wheels here, because IntelliJ knows what vehicle is, and it's like, hey, I know what this is. You can use this stuff with it. So nice things about IDEs. So you can say num wheels equals, let's make this a tri-wheel thing. Okay. And we could create a second vehicle. Oops. And let's give the second vehicle 5 wheels. I don't know how that would work, but just roll with it.
You want to go back there?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so, and then let's do this. Okay. Basically, I've copied the top portion, and I've just changed my vehicle to other vehicle and changed num wheels to 5. Okay? So you just copy that and then change things, yeah. So then what we can do is, in vehicle, instead of just saying I'm driving, let's say I'm driving with num wheels. Oh, come on, really? Yeah, num wheels is defined up here.
How many is it?
The class doesn't know. Because it's not because the class says there is some value num wheels, but it can be changed on each object instance. Now, here's just a general thing. In Java, integers and floats default to 0, so it'll default value have 0. But if you were trying to do color, it would actually be null. Oh shit! Sorry, I should not play with this because I'm going to end up losing it. So you should have something like this in your vehicle file. Okay? So can anyone tell me what will print out? Yep. Oh, whoops, I forgot to add wheels. That makes a lot more sense. There we go. Because each vehicle object has its own num wheels. And within the drive method, it will access the num wheels of its own instance. Does anyone have questions? Because some people actually have a really hard time understanding this. What's up?
So if I have two objects and and the two of them have a method which is the same name.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run them separately, would they do their own thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they won't interpret each other, even though the methods have the same name.
Correct. So that is the concept of encapsulation. Each object is its own thing. It is separate. Other questions?
I still have 0 wheels.
Oh.
I did something here. 9 vehicle, 3 drive.
Can you turn your screen around and let me see it real quick?
Did you see what you did once?
Oh, I didn't save it. Oh,
Yeah, you need that. Sorry, you gotta save. Sorry, it's such a habit. So you'll find once one of these days you'll be working on some machine that's just not stable, and then you'll lose like an hour's worth of work, and then you'll get to the habit where you'll be saving every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So get in the habit of hitting Control S or Command S if you're on Apple. You just want to be hitting that pretty much all the time. So that covers encapsulation. Now, you'll notice here, can you tell me what this is actually doing? Let's see if anyone is clever and remembers past classes. There's a certain set of characters in this highlighted text that means something whenever you see those two characters after a name. See if anyone remembers. Yeah. Yep. What does it mean when we have parentheses like that? So yes, but I haven't gotten there yet.
If you call the value that you put in there?
In this case, it's a method. Remember, so this is a method, right? This is also a method. Yeah. So in Java, there are several ways to create objects, but the most common one is using a special method called a constructor. Every class, every object, should have a constructor. A constructor is a method that uses the name of the class. Okay? And it's defined inherently. We didn't define this function. Java went ahead and defined it for us. And when you have a constructor, it spits out an object. Okay? This is where things get a little bit confusing. Okay? So what we're saying is, we're creating a new object, and then we're calling the vehicle class's constructor to get the object. So basically remember the building analogy? The constructor method is the action of constructing the building from the blueprint. That's why it's called a constructor. Does that kind of make sense?
So that's why you have to put it there after you, so
Yes.
that you can call it.
Yep, and construct the object and spit it out and return it. Okay? Now, when you define a class, you'll notice we didn't define that vehicle method anywhere here. We did not define a constructor. It is built in from all objects that it returns a constructor instance, or that it returns an object instance. But we can also define our own constructor. Okay? We can modify the original constructor and make it do whatever behaviors we want when an object is created for the first time. So what we can do here is we can actually say, I want a constructor called vehicle, okay? But we can say, hey, maybe I don't want to just have a blank constructor. Maybe I want it to actually do stuff, right? Maybe I want to take in, maybe I need information to create a vehicle, right? So you can do something like this. Whoops. Okay. So now, we're saying that when we call the constructor, we take inputs, we take parameters. We covered this during the first or second class. We're taking inputs to the constructor, and we can use those. We're going to get a little fancy here, but when you use this, it represents the object that's going to be spit out. Okay? So we can do this dot numWheels equals the numWheels that we were given. You can also do this with speed, and you can do this with color. Whoops, if I could type properly. Yes.
So can I take do photos of the?
Yeah.
Is that alright?
Or if everyone's comfortable with having their photo taken.
I just send it to the computer.
Yeah. We actually need those, so please do. You have to go? Okay. I'll post the video, and I'll link it in the Meetup page. Thank you for coming. So has everyone got this down? Okay. So now, we don't necessarily have to do this extra step. You'll also notice IntelliJ is like, hey, that's not okay. Because we have to find our own constructor now. And it takes 3 inputs. Here we've given it 0 inputs. So it's like, no. You have a constructor that takes in 3 inputs. You need to give me those 3 inputs.
And it didn't have this before.
Correct. Because we now defined our own constructor. So you can do... The nice part with an IDE is that it tells you what the inputs are. So that's really useful. So we can say this one takes in 3 wheels, has a speed of, I don't know kilometers per hour at all. What's a reasonable speed?
100?
Is that fast? I don't even know.
120.
Okay. And then let's make this one red, since it can apparently go very fast. A red sports car. Or red sports tricycle. I don't even know. Right? And then let's go ahead and remove this numWheels line, because that's kind of redundant. Okay. And we have to do that here too. Let's make this a 4-wheeler that can go 120. And let's just make it, I like blue. Again, we don't need this line. Okay. So now, other vehicle, immediately when we create it, those 3 attributes, those 3 properties on that vehicle will be defined. And now we can just run it. It'll say I'm running with 3 wheels, I'm running with 4 wheels. Okay? Not rocket science. Does this make sense? What's up?
When you define a new constructor, even if it's like different parameters, it immediately deletes the default constructor?
Yes.
So how many constructors we can make? 100
However many you want. So
constructors.
constructors? Yeah, you can make many constructors. So
Make many constructors. Can you point what exactly is the constructor?
this is the constructor. or this is the definition.
That whole
This-
thing is the constructor.
Yeah, this is the definition of the constructor. And then this is using the constructor. Okay? Now, there's another concept that Java provides called overloading. Okay? Overloading is when you can have a method, which includes constructors, with the same name, but with a different number of inputs, or with a different type of inputs. Okay? So we can do something like whoops, and we can leave out the color. This still works. I mean,
Identify it as a different vehicle?
it will still produce a vehicle. It's just a different way to create a vehicle. So a constructor produces that type of vehicle, but in this case, you would kind of normal behavior would be something like this, and then
You don't put in color? Oh, sorry, I mean,
you could do something like this. This is what most often happens. This is kind of the default color.
but
Is-
then you won't give an error by not having string color on published vehicle.
Correct. These are not bound to each other. We could have 100 properties, and we could have constructors with no parameters. That's perfectly fine. There's no requirement of a relationship between the two. So in this case, what we're doing is we're saying we have one way of building a vehicle where you can give it 3 inputs. We have another way of building a vehicle where you can give it 2 inputs. Right? We could leave color blank. In this case, we're going to say, hey, when you don't put a color, we're just going to set the color as black for you. Okay? So a sleek black car. And then we could do, to demonstrate, whoops. Let's make this let's actually make a black motorcycle that goes really fast. And let's go ahead and, actually, yeah, let's just stick with that. And if we run this, it still works. Questions? I see some deep thought going on over here.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Yeah, I'm just thinking how I'd use this in a real world application. I know what I'm using it for. What's this usually used for, though?
It's often when you have defaults, or you can do it where, let's say, you could do cool stuff like if you have some config. Here we go. Let's say that you had kind of a default configuration file location. You could say, okay, if you just run a constructor with no inputs, it's going to look for the default location and then just pull configs from there. Or you could do like, oh, hey, if you want to specify a different config file, go ahead and put a string here, right? So you could do that. Yeah, that's kind of the more common case when you have a default value. I am so sorry. I should mute my machine. Let's do that. There we go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Any other questions so far? Overloading can be a little bit confusing.
So we can change the value after the declaration, right?
One more time?
So we can change the values after we declare the constructor.
Yes. Yeah, you can change these. So you could go another vehicle dot num wheels equals 10, because that would be silly. But that would still work.
You can also modify the default
which is the color that you already defined in the other one.
Right.
From there also.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Other questions? So I'm debating whether or not we should get into inheritance or not.
Go for it.
Is there any other stuff we got to cover with object instantiation? Nope, let's do inheritance.
Can you go back to that?
Which one?
That's right.
Yeah. Is it running?
I got it.
Okay, so let's get into inheritance. You may have a, so in this case we have a vehicle, right? But maybe there are many different ways that vehicles can operate, right? You might have a car, you might have a hovercraft, you might have an airplane, right? These are all valid vehicles. And they may not all have wheels, but let's just kind of assume they have wheels for now because I wasn't thinking ahead. So you can define different subclasses, and they will inherit the behaviors of the parent class, but you can define additional behaviors, or you can override behaviors of the parent class. Okay, so we can have a car, we can have a vehicle, and then we can make a subclass called a car. And the car would have all the properties and methods that the vehicle would have, and then it could add more if it wanted to. So it may not make a whole lot of sense, but let's create a new Java class. So right-click source, go to new, go to Java class, and let's create one called car. Why is it? All right, whatever. And the way that you cause one class to inherit from another is a keyword called extends. Okay, so we can say a car extends a vehicle. And this is a very literal, really? It's fine. Okay? And then we need to define since vehicle defines a constructor, we need to define a constructor. Alright? And since we know a car has 4 wheels, we're not going to allow the user to change the number of wheels. So we won't use that as an input. We can do speed and we can do color. Okay? What are you complaining about? I'm not sure why it's doing that. Right? So far so good? You have this. So now, well, by doing this extends, we've established the inheritance relationship. Vehicle is called either the superclass or the parent class. Both of these are valid ways of calling it. And then car is the child class or the subclass. Okay? Now a car will inherit all the properties that a vehicle has. So a car will have a color, a number of wheels, and a speed. And we don't need to define that in the car because it already has it from the vehicle. And then another cool thing is we can say, hey, instead of doing my own thing already, let's just use vehicles constructor to construct our car. Okay, so we can do something like that. I'm getting a little bit fancy here. We're doing more than one thing at a time, so if it's confusing, let me know. Super.
You write the number of wheels so that they don't change them, but they can change the speed and color?
Correct. I mean, you could change it after the fact, but on construction, we're kind of forcing it to be a 4-wheeled vehicle. Okay. Crap, I forgot something about encapsulation. We'll cover that in a minute. Actually, that works out well. So in this case, this is as if we went like this. Okay? But in this case, we're using super to reference the class that car is extending from. Okay? So now, if we go back to hello world, we can create a new car. And we can give it a speed. It's going to be a really slow car. And we can give it a color. Let's make it gray, because why not? Okay? Now, if a car has all the properties and methods that a vehicle has, what method can we call on our car? Think about it for a second. So a car has all of the properties and methods that a vehicle has. So what methods does a car have? Yes. On vehicle, we defined a drive method. Because car is inheriting from vehicle, car also has a drive method. And it behaves in the same manner. If we run it, you can see I'm driving with 4 wheels. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the constructor and the car class, why did you add additionally super force speed color into that class? Or into that class?
So we wanted to use vehicles constructor to set all of the values. When you say super, you're referencing the parent class or the super class. Okay? So by doing this, we're just referencing vehicles constructor.
Okay. Okay, so it's like a constructor that references a constructor.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it is a constructor that references a constructor. So what we're doing here is we're taking all the logic in this 3-parameter version of the constructor, and it would be as if we were copying and pasting it here. So it's a nice little shorthand. And it also maintains the relationship between the two. I mean, the relationship is already set by using this, but it just kind of like makes everything fit together nicely. Okay. Other questions? Is it running for everyone? What you got? Super 4-speed color car. Oh, extends needs to be lowercase, vehicle needs to be uppercase. Java is case sensitive. So this cannot be this. You'll notice how the color disappears and everything goes red. Extends must have a lowercase e. Vehicle also starts with an uppercase V. It cannot be a lowercase v. Java is case sensitive. That will bite you if you are not careful. Does it work now?
Yeah.
Cool.
So super means the method of the parent class.
Yes. So it means the parent class in general. You could do something like if this is slightly wrong, but for purposes of basics, yes. You could do super dot something, but this works. but that's only for statics, but we haven't covered statics yet. And we're not going to, yeah. Now, that would not actually, so what she has is this. That would not actually work because those are object instances, not class instances, but we haven't covered that yet, so yeah. So, okay, perfect. So then, yeah, we can cover protections, and then that's about it. So, there's, why is it coloring like that? Okay. Now, maybe, so we have these classes, we have these objects, we create these objects, but maybe, for example, a car, if I were to take 3, or if it were to have any number of wheels that was not 4, it wouldn't be a car anymore, right? It would be a different kind of vehicle, right? So what we can do is we can protect the properties of our classes and our objects. Okay, so we could take something like num wheels and speed, and we can make them private. This means that no other object, including subclasses, can change this value. Okay? So if I make this private, and I go back to hello world, you'll see that this will turn red on IntelliJ. On Eclipse it might look different. But it says num wheels has private access. So within this class, which is hello world, you can't modify it. Java's like, no, 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 no. The person who defined that class said it is private. You cannot change it. You cannot even read it. If I were to do something like this, that would also not, whoops. That would still not work. You cannot read or write to privates. Okay? So why would that be useful? Well, maybe you don't want someone else modifying the class. Maybe you want to protect it somehow.
So if you run it right now, what will show up?
It would not compile.
It would not compile. Oh.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and try that, right? If I try to do this, get error. Can't even compile. Compilation completed with 1 error. Error was num wheels has private access. Can't access it. Okay? Now, so you might be thinking, well, what if I want someone else to be able to read the object, or sorry, not object, someone else to read the property, but not to be able to change it? There's kind of a common method style in Java called a getter. Okay? So you could say, you could do something like public. Now what type is num wheels? Anyone? Yep. You could do something like this. Okay. And this means that after construction, because we allow the constructor to set it, you cannot change it because it's private. Okay? But you can read it because the class has made available to you a method that gives you the value. So the method inside the object is public, but the property is private. But since that method is inside the class, it can access the property. Okay? So instead, we can do something like this. If I could freaking type. Oh my god. And that allows us to read the value without allowing us to change it. And you'll see that this runs just fine. Another vehicle has 2 wheels. Questions? Alright. Okay. I tend to wait a long time after questions because some people are like, no, I don't have any. Wait a second. There is a right equivalent where some people will do something like public void set numWheels, and it might take in an integer numWheels. Right? This makes the property private, but we can still read and write it. Yeah, I know that look. I have that same look. Why would a method like this, not as it's currently written, but why would a setter method, this is called a setter method, why would a setter like this be useful? Not because of exactly how this is written, but what else could you do? It might be kind of a trick question, or a silly answer, rather.
Make sure no one changes it accidentally or something.
Yeah. You could do that. Anything else? It's kind of a trick question. A setter is a type of what? No. I just said it a minute ago. What is this that we have defined?
You said we can make it public now, right?
No, the numWheels is still private.
Oh.
This method is public. And I just gave the answer. A setter is a type of method. What can you do a method? Anything. So we could do additional, we could say that, hey, if someone changes the number of wheels, maybe we want to print a warning. Or maybe there's some other value we need to change. Or maybe there's something we need to update. Right? So this is why setters are useful. And then we could say, okay, so that people can see what's here, right? And hello world, we can set it. Now if we run it, okay, so that's why setters are useful. So this is why you might want to make variables private versus public. The default value is public, which means that anything anywhere can modify the values. Okay. Private means that only this object can access this. Okay. Getters allow you to read a value. Getter is a style of writing a method. Okay. A setter is another style of writing a method that allows you to change a value. Okay. Questions?
In this case, I think we can make the non-field, the private case, change the public, while we choose the setter and getter.
So the reason you would want to use a getter is if you want to restrict the ability to change it. Wait, I'm sorry. Ask your question one more time.
we can make the known field public at the first time. But I'm not sure why we should make the known field private and make the setter and getter.
Okay. So there is a case where you could make num wheels private and not have a setter, only have a getter. In that case, num wheels is effectively read-only, because you can read it using the getter, but you can no longer change it because it's private. Right?
And also, we can make the known field public. You can read and change.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you don't want it to change, then you could make it private. So does that answer your question, or does that answer your question?
It's okay.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Okay. What's up?
How do I make a meta private?
Good question. You just change public to private.
Oh,
You can make private methods too. I'm going to cover that in a second. So.
I was just wondering, from her question, did she mean you usually use the setters and the getters with public and private? They usually wouldn't be used alone?
So getters and setters, there's no real need to have a getter or setter with a public property.
Okay. That might have explained what she was asking.
Yeah. So if you have your property public,
there would be no reason for a setter.
Right. Because they could just access it directly. You don't need to call a method.
So when you have a private, that's when you want to make it private, but do one or the other.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, if it's public, there's no reason to have a getter or setter, because you can just access it and change it. When it's private, that's when you can do different things. Because you can say, hey, I only want to allow read. I don't want to allow write. Or I want to allow read and I want to allow write, but I want something in addition to occur whenever someone tries to do one of those. Like we did here. Where we're allowing them to read it, no problem. We're allowing them to write it, but if they write it, we want to do something else. By making it private and providing this method, we are forcing them to make this happen. Does that make sense? Kind of, not really? Okay.
I guess an example would be that, let's say that you want to change, you still have the option to change the number of wheels, but in this case, they will ask you, are you sure you want to change? And that's where you can add system out print, and you can add a logic there. If a user says yes, then you can change it, but you can add that question, are you sure you want to change it with that set number of wheels? Right?
Yep, that's one case. Here's a quick example I can show as well. So we could do something like, let's make it private, because why not? Actually, let's just include it up here. We could do something like this, and we could say, we could do something like this. And then if we were to do let's call it twice, right? The setter allows us to use additional logic whenever a value is being changed. So maybe, let's say that you had a website, okay? And you had a user. and you want the website, when it changes the first name of the user, like let's say you had to change your name, it would, by having something like a setter, yes, it would change the value for display, but then you might also want it to go change the value in the database, right, so that it persists, right? Using a setter like this would allow you to do that, because you can change the value now and do additional actions. Does that make a little more sense?
No.
Okay, cool. But
Yeah, it's like it's very. I'll make more captions.
Okay.
Next week.
okay, that works. Cool. So then the last. So these are, when we say public and private, they're called. Oh man, how good is my memory? I want to say they're called scope modifiers, but I'm not sure that's right. Access modifiers. Thank you. Damn. So this is called an access modifier. So we have private, we have public, we also have protected. So we could do something like, I don't know. Actually, let's make the color protected. Doesn't make any sense, but we're just going to do it. Okay? So when it's protected, that's fine. Oh God, now I don't remember. Crap, I should have reviewed this. Protected. You know what? I don't want to confuse you guys by saying the wrong thing. So give me a second. Come on, really? This network sucks. This network really sucks. Well, so much for that. We'll just have to try something. Sorry, I'm going to do some crazy voodoo magic real quick because I got a test to remember which it does. It does one of two things, and different things in different languages. It's fine. And then we can say... Okay, cool. So that is how it works. But we didn't cover that yet. Okay, so protected means that any object, any class, any object within the same package can access the variable. Okay? I apologize, I made a mistake. I forgot to cover packages. Packages are different ways to organize your code. Okay? So if you remember back in the... Oh geez, let's do this. Come on, where's my mouse? There we go. If you remember here, back in the data structures, we had java.util.hashmap. Java.util is a package. It's a way to logically organize your classes. Because if you had an application with 200 classes, that would be a giant pain to keep track of everything. But if you're like, okay, so I know I have something for like I know I have a group of classes that have to do with transportation. So you could have, so you could have like a transportation package, which would have vehicle and car. But then you might have a customer package, which would have like online customers or in-person customers, right? And the package is a way to keep those things separate. So when we have, okay, I gotta learn these keyboard shortcuts. when you have a package, and you can just do that by right-clicking New Package, and then it just creates a folder. When you have objects in the same package, they can access protected properties and protected methods. We could change this to protected if we wanted to. And then only objects in the same package could modify non-wheels, for example. So it kind of sets like a trust zone. Does that make sense? Cool.
How do you add a package once you've already made classes?
So you can right-click, go to New, and you can create package. Packages tend to follow a naming scheme where you'll normally have like com, org, edu, kind of like websites. So in this case, our organization is Learn to Code Seoul, right? And then you would have some names. So you could do Learn to Code Seoul, right? I just did L2CSL because I'm lazy, but really you would probably want to do this. And then you could say what your project name is, like classes, right? And that's just a way of kind of organizing your code. And that way, if you were to ever distribute this to someone else, they can go, oh, I know that this class came from some organization called Learn to Code Seoul, and it's a project called classes, right? And that just kind of makes sense. It's a way for people to keep track of where things are and where they may have come from. So for example, there's an organization called Apache, and they release a lot of Java libraries. So you could download these Java libraries and you could import org.apache.hadoop or something like that, right? It's just kind of a taxonomy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then once you've created your thing, you can just drag it in. So you can just click and drag.
To refactor it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just going to delete this because I don't need it. Where is delete? There we go. And then if you actually look at where this is, where is it? Here we go. Oh man, this is terrible. If you look at this project on your disk, it actually creates these folders. org.l2csl.classes, each of those is a folder. And it organizes your code that way. So it's a nice way to kind of keep track of things. Okay? So, yeah.
I'm trying to drag and drop it into the new package, but it's not working. So copy, drag,
refactor.
But then it's just, they're not moving.
Really? Let me see real quick. That should never happen. And you can do this in Eclipse too.
Didn't like declare package.
Oh, weird. That's so weird. That's so weird. That must be an IntelliJ bug. Now, you might be asking, okay, if I wasn't using IntelliJ or Eclipse or whatever, how would I do this? This is actually written in your code too, where, wrong freaking window. Oh my god. How do I even computer? Okay. If you look, from dragging it into this folder, it added this line at the top. Okay? This is the package path, org.l2csl.classes. I really should have named that something different, but whatever. Okay? And then, when you do this, Java expects it to be in a folder path going org l2csl classes. So.
I just had a quick idea that I thought it would be great if there was be a way to, let's say, you made a quick list of what we learned today, which was, by the way, I love your style of teaching.
Oh, thank you.
And it just, like, say, we made a quick list. Okay, we learned review. What did we learn today? We learned about protected and If you can help me, what did we learn today?
We learned classes and objects.
Objects,
We learned inheritance.
inheritance.
We learned constructors.
Right. So what we could say, take those four and say, okay, for your optional homework, you know, you can do something like this, but like a different thing. Like instead of a car, you have to, you know, talk about your, you know, buildings or something else. And then we had to use everything we learned, and then we would come back next week and say, okay, this is how I applied what I learned. Because I thought that it would basically get people to want to come back, and also for me to get to actually remember this, I would have to use it on like something totally different.
Right.
And then I know, I really understand this.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
that would be really just a, well, I guess it wasn't a question, it was just a suggestion.
No. Please, I want more suggestions.
But it would take a lot of work, because sometimes building a test is more work than actually doing it. I mean,
Right.
definitely. But I think it would help people like her, you know, who she could say, oh, I actually know how to do this. You know, and me too, because I think I understand it, but unless I actually used it on something, especially if it was, you know, I like the way you use analogies, you know, cars, but they say, okay, I want you to do this, but it has to be with, you know, boats or, you know, or something else. So, yeah, that would be a nice, for learning.
That's a good idea. So, a proposal then.
Yeah, there we go.
Again, optional, because I actually hate homework. But
Yeah.
if you are the type to do those things, feel free. How about food?
Food, okay, good, there we go.
So you could create foods that have.
Can you just make a quick list of like a text, like of what we want? Like we could even comment it. I'm using a constructor to make this food, this.
Yeah. So what I tend to do is I tend to take all these files that we've made today and I put them on GitHub, and that way anyone can go view them. And what I'll do is I will take the time to comment and add in information about all of the different steps. So I'll add a comment like, this is a constructor, ... right? And that way, that's how I most often do it. And that way it's on the internet for you to look at any point. But as for the list of things, now that we're at the point where we're using multiple files within a project, I'll include a README that'll have a short summary.
Okay.
So does that sound
you're
reasonable?
Really good at pulling things like right off the top of your head. I'm just wondering, like, what would the challenge be with food?
So maybe define, let's say 3 different kinds of foods.
You got 3 kinds of food. You're gonna use what, two classes or 3 classes for this?
I'm thinking 4.
Okay, there's 3 kinds of food.
That's actually a really good idea. Oh my god, why can't I even computer? This is terrible. Okay, so let's do optional homework. 3 kinds of food. You might have a base food class, and then you might have a meat class, and then what? Right? What properties and methods would be shared by all foods? Whoops. What might be specific to meat? So on and so forth. There's one thing I forgot to show too. This is very important. Crap, this is really important. I'm actually kind of mad that I didn't show you this. You can also do... We could just do something like this. Whoops, wrong line. You can also set values, or not speed, sorry. You could do something like that. Okay. And that way it's kind of inherent to all cars. You don't have to do it that way, but yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
Or if you define it like that, would you put int also, or is int already declared vehicle?
That's a good question. I don't remember. Nope, you needn't. Yeah. It complains otherwise. So, okay. And, nope, that's not what I meant to do at all. Man, I gotta get better at this. Good job. Okay, that didn't work at all. So, yeah. Whoa. So, yeah, does that sound like a reasonable?
Yeah, I think that would be well more interesting to see when we're learning. Oh, how can I apply this? You know?
Yeah. Cool.
I seem to learn things after I apply them.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So, good idea. You had a question?
No, it's just off the topic, but let's see your editor that makes it.
Oh. So this is an editor called Atom, and that crazy,
Yeah.
that's a plugin called Activate Power Mode.
Oh, okay.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Oh,
Cool. So normally after this we will get food together. So if you're hungry and if you have the time, you're welcome to join. We also kindly ask for a small donation to help cover the cost of this space. We eventually hope to move to Google Campus, which would be free, and then we would not even need donations. Everything would be completely 100% free.
Google Campus, where's that?
It's over near Samsung Station. You can actually get free membership there too. I recommend looking into it. It's called Campus Seoul. So that's a thing.
I actually love this place for some meetings, actually. How did you find this?
Are
these all over the place? Seoul? I've just been here.
They're in some area, yeah. But yeah, another meetup member recommended it to me, so I was like, cool, this works perfectly. So if you have money to donate, cool. If you don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Yeah, usually 5 is.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. But beyond that, and I go downstairs and pay afterwards. So if you're like, oh, I don't know if I can trust this guy with money, you can watch me. Oh, thank you. You can watch me go pay them the money. So.
Start using Google Campus. Should we all have membership before that later?
I believe you don't need to for events.
Okay.
But you do have. I think you have to RSVP for the event somehow.
So if RSVP and meet up and then say Google Campus, if you don't have membership already.
I think that would be okay. I'm going to a training session of theirs next week. So when the following meetup comes, I will tell you. Yeah. So the placeholder for the next meetup is set to be at Google Campus, but it's actually not going to happen. It's going to be at TAWS again. The following, I'm hoping to get at Google Campus. We'll see. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for your time. If you have questions, let me know. We also have a Slack channel where you can ask questions. All that info is on Meetup. And beyond that, yeah, feel free to bombard me with any questions you may have. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. All right, so thank you, everyone. Where's mouse is on the wrong monitor.